Thanks to everyone who has been working hard all day today to offer the various activities that hopefully you've had a chance to enjoy. And thank you to everyone here that is receiving an honor for your support of Heifer over the years, and to everyone who's come just to learn a little bit more and to enjoy a celebration, 70 years Heifer International. I'd like to introduce first Roger Dickinson, Assemblyman Roger Dickinson, who will present a California State Assembly resolution honoring Heifer International.
And we have a resolution. That's a good thing. Well, good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to join you on this very momentous occasion. I apologize for being a little bit informally addressed. I've been out knocking on some doors today. They tell me there's an election coming up, so I hope you will forgive me for that little bit of an informal appearance. But this was one I didn't want to miss, despite my other activities, because from the first cowgirl and the first cowboy. Over the last 7 decades, Heifer International, with literally thousands of volunteers, has brought relief from hunger to over 20 million families and over 90 million people around the world. Give yourselves a hand. That in itself is both remarkable and very special, but particularly here in Sacramento, where we have, in many ways, always been at the heart of a rich agricultural region, where in more recent times we have become fond of calling ourselves the farm-to-fork capital. When we have focused on food, not just locally, but across the nation and across the world in a way that we had not previously experienced. In all of that, we seem to often forget that there are millions of people around the world, especially children, who go to bed hungry. And if there's anything that we should dedicate ourselves to, it is that we should ensure that no child goes hungry. That is something that I think, if we set as a goal, will not only give us a lot of work to do of a very productive kind, but it will give us a goal that has the foundation and the meaning of helping children grow up healthy and able to pursue their dreams of creating a better and brighter future for all of us. So I came here today to present a resolution marking the 70th anniversary, but perhaps more importantly to thank you for volunteering with this organization, for its mission, its purpose, and its goals, for the pursuit of eliminating hunger around the world. This is a noble effort and a noble cause, and I am proud to be here today to spend a few moments with you and help you celebrate this very important 70th anniversary. Thanks very much. John? On with the show. Thanks, John.
Good afternoon. I am Ardith Neal, and I'm the president of Heifer Foundation. The Heifer Foundation is the sister organization to Heifer International. We were created to build an endowment for the ongoing support of Heifer International. It is great to be with you here today celebrating Heifer's 70th birthday. Thank you to the wonderful group of volunteers and all your hard work in putting this event together. To all of you gathered here today, I would like to take a moment to thank each of you and every one of you for your past support, whatever form it has taken. It is well received, and we appreciate that support. But I also want to thank you for coming today and helping us celebrate 70 years of service around the world. And I want to thank you for what you will continue to do, because without you, we cannot accomplish this mission. So thank you very much. I am honored today to introduce the Reverend Dr. Bill Beck. I have known Bill since I started with Heifer in 1996, and it has always been a privilege to serve with him. As many of you know, Bill retired in 2000 from Heifer International after serving as the director of the Western region. During his 9 years of volunteer service and 31 years of staff service to Heifer International, he also served during that time as the director of the Pacific West region, the director of Plan Giving, which led to the creation of Heifer Foundation, which I thank him for. And he was the director of regions and the director of the Southeast region. This year, as Heifer celebrates its 70th birthday, we are honoring Heifer cowboys around the country. It has been a privilege to attend 6 of these events around the country so far and honor these men and women who delivered animals around the world and laid the foundation for the work we are doing today. It is without their service we would not be here today. And I found out after we arrived that we have a family here who was one of was one of the first cowboys. Richard A. Damon and his wife Bonnie and her daughter and son-in-law are here with us today. So I want to honor them briefly for their service. Bill is also one of our cowboys. And so we are honoring him today, and I hope you had a chance to see the certificate that's over on the table over here honoring his service as well. He made numerous trips overseas and here in the U.S. His first trip was trucking goats to Mexico, and since then has attended cattle and pigs on ships bound for Japan and Korea, as well as on planes to Ecuador and Korea. We honor him and his fellow cowboys today. Before serving Heifer, he served 9 years as a pastor in the California-Nevada Conference of United Methodist Church. Bill's long-term diversified service to Heifer's mission makes him the perfect person to share with us his reflection on Heifer's past. Without further ado, please help me welcome the Reverend Dr. Bill Beck.
Having been the regional director for this region, it just gives me a great sense of well-being looking out over this crowd. Those of you who have been a part of making Heifer happen around the world over the years, and even more so, the young people who are here who will see that it continues to happen in years to come. When I was asked to speak, I understood that the request was for me to share my experiences as a cowboy. So that's what you're getting today. I knew I was in trouble when, after an initial conversation, the Atlanta insurance executive asked me, "Do you know who I am?" Don't you hate that question? And my brain went into high gear, and I said, Claire Stein. Claire Stein. Oh, you're the man who raised the first heifer for Heifer International. The World Arc 70th Anniversary Edition reports on Claire Stein as the first cowboy he raised the first heifers, Faith, Hope, and Charity. They were shipped to Puerto Rico in 1944. After high school, Claire and a couple of buddies accompanied a shipment of horses to Europe. He was among the 7,000 cowboys that cared for the heifers, horses, and other livestock between 1944 and 1948. Most of them came to the Brethren Service Center in New Windsor, Maryland, and shipped out of Newport News. The Liberty ships that were used for ammunition and munitions and delivering military arms now would deliver through the UNRWA program, the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Program, food and stuffs to help people. Boatload after boatload of livestock went. The Brethren Service Center agreed to provide the cowboys, those who would care for the animals. And in turn, UNRWA people said that they would ship the Heifer Project animals free. Right. I didn't learn about Heifer until 1960 when Dylan Throckmorton, who was the Western Region Director, came and spoke at my first church, the Galt United Methodist Church. He talked about, skip the page, can't do that. He talked about families raising baby goats and then having them shipped to South Korea to help families who had hungry children. And my first experience as a cowboy was to pick up 6 kids and deliver them to the families. In about 6 months, my name was taken in vain by everyone. There were no more roses and no more flowers. But then I picked the goats up and delivered them to Modesto, and they were taken to Korea. In 1964, I cared for 24 head of prize beef cattle and 20 pigs that went to Japan. The trip on the USS President Tyler was smooth. The animals were cared for well, and my task was to care for the pigs and the cattle. They were loaded onto the deck in the various containers. My job was to feed, water, and clean them up. The soiled straw was thrown overboard. The seamen were intrigued. They had opportunity to feed the animals, mostly apples, bread, and other table scraps. Upon arriving in Yokohama Harbor, the animals went immediately to quarantine, and I was taken to the Iwate Prefecture. Reverend Kintara Buma, who was a director for Church World Service, took me, and we met the farmers who were to receive those animals. We walked the pasture, and then we had dinner, lunch. It was my opportunity to try out my Japanese Ohayo gozaimasu. That's it. And also to try out my skill with the chopsticks. There were no skills. The president of the co-op provided me with a gift, and I said to him, I am not the giver of these animals. It's many people across Northern California who have given these animals. But they wanted to say thank you. And Reverend Buma said, as we drove away, you need to know that these farmers walked all morning to say thank you. And so, folks, whenever somebody asks me, are the people really grateful? I tell them this story. It still brings tears to my eyes. Not only are the people grateful, they share the offspring with their neighbors as they pass on the gift in true Heifer tradition. Over the years, cowboy experience included times of fear and alarm, as well as hope and new life. There were ships that suffered damage from mines in the North Atlantic. There were others that got stuck in the Baltic ice for weeks. While loading heifers at Pier 29 in San Francisco, one got loose and jumped in the bay. Well, after some help with the Coast Guard, we rescued her and put her on the ship, and she went on to Korea. In 1972, I sent 99 heifers to South Korea by air. Now, we took 100 to the Oakland airport, but in the process of unloading them from the truck and loading them onto the plane, one of them got loose, and the pilot, after a while, said, "If you're going with me, you better get on the plane." So we left her, and we got a call at the office not a couple of days later, and they said, "We picked up a heifer over here on the greens at the Oakland Golf and Country Club. Come get your heifer." So we picked it up, and she shipped out later. I accompanied a shipment of 32 Brahman cattle to Ecuador. They were bound for the Brethren demonstration farm as a breeding herd. We took off from New Iberia, Louisiana, and en route we landed a couple times for gas. And over the ocean, just as we were approaching South America, all of a sudden there was ringing of bells and the flashing of lights, and I said, "What's going on?" And it seemed that the pressure system inside the cabin had failed. And so they had to fly lower down where we could actually access the oxygen in the air. And as we approached South America and Ecuador, we actually had to fly up to get to the airport. As we came through the pass and were making a slight turn to make it into the airport, the pilot said, "This is one of the most dangerous airports in the world." Thanks a lot. We landed safely, and before we could unload the animals, we learned that the truckers' union was on strike. So Eduardo Sotomayor, who was our director at that time, lined up some farm trucks, and we delivered the animals to the farm. In the 1970s, Hal Lund from Sacramento, from the committee that was here at that time, attended 23 heifers and one mean little bull, he called it, on the SS Pacific Bear going to Korea. This was the last boat shipment, and in fact, the last shipment to South Korea. One of our heifer supporters wrote me and said, "Isn't it exciting that we are shipping the last shipment? Heifer has achieved its mission in South Korea." One of the most important facets of being a cowboy is returning to tell the story to others. Roy Cutts, an early heifer leader, said, "The cowboy is expected to be an ambassador of goodwill abroad and an ambassador of interpretation when he returns." With over 7,000 storytellers, the word of Heifer's mission spread far and wide. From the 1940s through the 1980s, a continuous line of cowboys told their stories. But more important, they invited people to be involved in support of Heifer. In the 1970s, a new group started spreading the word. These were the members of the Heifer study tours and the work studies. These cowboys without a cow went to see and returned to tell Heifer's mission. Every traveler agreed to share their experience, their slides, and encourage others to support Heifer. Heifer tours went to see programs around the world. The Reverend John Taylor delivered goats to Korea for me at one time and surprised me with a call from Europe. Europe? He had taken a side trip delivering some Holt Adoption Agency orphans to Europe, but he got caught in the travel on Heifer's behalf and soon was taking others to see the work of Heifer in Caribbean, in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. Thank you, John. These Heifer tourists, over 230 of them, returned to generate much support for Heifer. I took work studies, and many others have gone around, from around the world. There are hundreds of people who are continuing to tell their story, and many of you made that Ecuador trip, and I know you're still telling your story here. Upon my retirement, Mary and I visited families in Korea. They were still passing on the gift 20 years after that last shipment. 20 years later. In the 70th anniversary publication of Heifer's magazine, World Arc, Pierre Ferrari, Heifer's CEO, says that with the passion and dedication of the cowboys, we can end extreme hunger and poverty. Claire Stein and his fellow seagoing cowboys made the world a better place. We needed men like him then. We need men and women like him today. May the cowboy spirit live on in you and in every supporter of Heifer International. Amen.
We have some baby chicks, 2 weeks old, Beard Rock and Buffalo Orpingtons, and Heifer promotes them. They get about 240 eggs a year, and a great source of protein. You can, if you have a rooster with them, you can get more baby chickens and share them around the community, so it's kind of a pass it on type of deal. Heifer goes and buys breeds in the within the country so that they're all adaptable to those countries, and then they encourage them to pass them on to other people. I have chickens here in Sacramento, and they're the easiest animals I've ever had, and I've got a lot of animals, but you can leave for a week and they raise themselves. They're survivors. They'll get up in the trees and get away from predators and stuff. They're really easy pets.
Good afternoon. My name is Jill Kilty Newbern. If I have not had a chance to meet you in person, please let me know. Let me let you know that I am so glad you're here. We are so grateful for your participation, and we are so happy to be celebrating here at St. Mark's today. I have the great honor and privilege of being the Community Engagement Manager for the Northern California area, which means one of the things I get to do is come all the way out here to Sacramento to spend some time with the wonderful volunteers out here, and it's one of the best parts of my job. I got one of those little notes in the mail last week from the CEO of Heifer. Said, "Congratulations on your 8-year anniversary." 8 years. And I thought back to that first month or so as to when I started with Heifer International. And I made a trip out to Modesto, and I got to meet the Reverend Dr. Bill Beck and several of our supporters out there. It was an important moment for me at Heifer, as Bill taught me a lot about Heifer hospitality. He continues to inspire me, as I hope he does you, and provide a great example for all of us. It's my great pleasure today to follow Bill and present a little Heifer hospitality to our next guest. Ms. Rosa Rodriguez is my colleague from Ecuador. She is our country director there, where she has been with Heifer for 11 years. Rosa was born in Quito, Ecuador. She has been an international development professional for over 25 years. Rosa began working with indigenous communities at a very young age as a volunteer, and she played a pivotal role in assisting communities with their organizational development process. Her many years of development experience have allowed her to deepen her work in agroecology, sustainable food systems, and food sovereignty in Ecuador. It is my great honor and privilege to introduce my colleague, Rosa Rodriguez.
First, let me say thank you to each one of you, because being here, I can feel all the passion that each one of you have for each other, all the love that you have for taking care of others. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here and listen, not my words, but listen all the words that I bring from the small farmers that I work with. Second, I had a growing speech, but since I was talking with many of you, I decided not to use it because I think that I need to talk mostly with my heart than with my head. So let me, so I am going to talk with my heart to you. I am going to talk about the small farmers, the families, the men, the women, and the young people that I work with. And I am very, very proud to work with Hafer, because Hafer allowed me to feel what such important is to take care of each other, to think about what we are eating, how we produce food, and how important is to be very commitment about nature and about earth. So I need to say thanks to you for being one of the starting people that allowed to create this very important organization all around the world. So what Heifer does in Ecuador? That is the main question. What do we do? What I do there? I work with a small, we work, Heifer works with small farmers. But before that, let me tell you, many of you have been in Ecuador, and Ecuador is a very, very nice country. If you are in Ecuador, you can be able to find nevados, mountains, paramos, dry forests, different kind of ecosystem. You can be at the beach, you can be at the coastal area, you can have different kind of foods in each region. You can see different kind of faces because we have like 16 indigenous communities, different kind of indigenous people. So, and we also can have different, you can see different kind of crops in Ecuador. So we are a very, very, very nice and very, very rich people. But at the same time, even we are very rich indeed, the people who produce food in Ecuador at the rural areas, they are the poorest people in all Ecuador. If you see some information at the rural areas, the people that produce food, right now they are under the line of poverty, which means that they live with less than $1.50 each day. This is a very, very huge contradiction, because sometimes I said the people who produce food, they are the most important people all around the world, because they are feeding each one of us. But that is the very big contradiction, at least in Ecuador. So we work with small farmers all around Ecuador, and we support them to produce food for them and also for the others. So we give them animals, we give them some technical assistance. We also give them seeds, because we support them to have a small farm, but with a very, very diverse kind of crops. But it is not enough to have a better production. It is not enough to have qualification when you are producing milk or potatoes or maize or corn or cocoa. It is not enough, because you can have all of that. So we need to have enough production also to eat by yourself, not just to sell. So that is the first phase, the first moment. And then the second moment is to support them to transform some of their products. So we supported them to transform the cocoa to chocolate, or the milk to have cheese, or the milk or from the coffee seeds to have coffee, processed coffee, or also we can have, for example, fish, because we also work with fishermen and fishing women at the coastal area. So to have the fish in some specific different kind of boxes, so the people can see in a better condition and then they can buy. So we support them to transform what they produce. But also that is not enough, because if they produce, transform, and do not sell, they are not going to get more income, which is one of the important objectives that we always go for. So we are trying to work together, consumers with producers. If we have educated consumers that understand that choosing what each one of us is eating, we are going to be able that these educated consumers make a big choice. They are not going to buy whatever, any kind of food. They are going to prefer the food that is produced with love to the earth, taking care of the earth, because the farmers, small farmers that we work with, they do not use any kind of chemics. They take care of the earth. They take care of the health of the people, because they are giving us food that it is a healthy food. And also, if these understand the consumers, they are always going to prefer to choose this kind of food that is food, but also that is love. So Heifer Ecuador works in these 3 or 4 steps. Helping small farmers to produce in a better ways, in a better conditions. Helping them also to transform, and helping them to get together with consumers. In this way, we are working in a cycle of taking care of each other, because also the consumers can get healthy food, which is a really important issue, because we are thinking in an holistic way. The other issue, which is very important, as you know, the mission of Hafer is to take care of earth. So as Ecuador has a lot, it is a mega diverse country, we work supporting farmers, but also the farmers work taking care of earth, not only producing in a healthy way, but also they take care of the ecosystem where they live. For example, if the farmers live at the highlands, very close to the paramos, they take care of this specific ecosystem, which is very special because it keeps the sweet water all around of the world. So they plant trees, they go to protect the water systems, or if they work at the coastal area, they will take care of that specific ecosystem as the mangroves area. I just have 30 seconds. So let me tell you that that will be really, really nice. You have seen on the table a lot of pictures, a lot of postcards from Heifer, Ecuador. As you have seen, they do not have written the name of the place or either from the persons that are on the postal cards. And I decided to do that because that will be really nice if all of you can come to visit Ecuador and to find who is the women, who is the man, who are the people that are on the pictures, that you can find where are the alpacas that are on the pictures, where are the cocoa, where are the corn that are, and then you can write on your postcard the name of the family and the name of the place that with whom you can share and with whom you can learn. So thank you. I'm taking your love from all of you to all the farmers that I work with. Thanks again.
For 70 years, Heifer International has worked with communities around the world to end hunger and poverty and care for the earth. Heifer empowers communities in need by providing training, livestock, tools, and financial support. These are the resources necessary to help families become food secure, improve their income, and achieve a sustainable livelihood. As Heifer volunteers and donors, we have heard for many years of Heifer's successes in the field. Heifer empowers small-scale farmers to fully participate in creating economic prosperity for their families and communities. But what does this empowerment look like? We invite you to come along and witness, through our eyes, the faces, voices, and accomplishments of Heifer International and its partners in Ecuador. Ecuador is a small South American country with an ethnically diverse population of 15 million people, of which 70 to 80% live in poverty. It has a mixture of ecological systems that include rainforests, desert, and mountains. Heifer provides resources to build and strengthen the income of small-scale farmers. Often, the necessary knowledge and skills are already present, but Heifer provides the needed support to move communities forward. In Puerto Bolívar, on the coast of Ecuador, a women's cooperative partnering with Heifer International lends financial support to local fishermen. The seed money provided by Heifer has made it possible for the fishermen to construct a building where they can meet and organize. Here, they are able to combine their catches and sell in large quantities to get the best price for their fish. Working together, they stand a better chance of surviving competition with large commercial fishing operations in the area. With financial support from Heifer, the men are also able to buy fishing nets, get low-interest loans to purchase their fishing boats, and eventually build a new pier for their fishing cooperative. The fishermen struggle daily to make a living. On some days, after casting out several times, they catch their limit of fish. On other days, they catch very few. A surprising and pleasant occurrence on our boats was the unique way the fishermen served us lunch. They prepared a delicious meal of fresh fish and fried plantains over a simple stove on the boat. For the hungry fishermen and their guests, it was a welcome treat. Heifer promotes sustainable food systems and diversity in the diet. In Machala, the banana capital of the world, small-scale farmers raise organic bananas for the international market. Their families, however, continue to live in poor conditions, and their diets lack nutritional diversity. With training from Heifer, participants in the local El Guapo cooperative now grow cacao and tropical fruit crops. This not only expands their source of income, but their diets as well. They also have learned how to raise chickens and grow vegetables for family consumption. This allows them to feed themselves and rely less on external markets for food. At an elevation of 9,000 feet in the Andean highlands, a diversity of crops grows on the Moretta family farm. Beautiful tubs of radishes, carrots, cabbages, and cauliflower are washed and ready for the next day market. The family raises chickens and guinea pigs to improve access to protein and to sell for additional income. Our group had the opportunity to try some homegrown fava beans and potatoes, and a bit of roasted guinea pig. We also sampled delicious potato chips made and sold locally by the Moretta children. The variety of nutritious food available to the family year-round can be attributed to the success of Heifer's emphasis on earth-friendly agricultural practices. Earth-friendly farming techniques protect and replenish natural resources. These techniques are fundamental to Heifer International's mission of building communities that can nourish the environment as well as themselves. The Moretta family uses ancient techniques of soil enrichment, raised beds, mixed plantings, and crop rotation. The benefits of growing this way are multiple. The land produces a variety of crops that can be eaten and marketed year-round. The mix of plants enriches the soil, helps to protect against harmful insects, and attracts beneficial ones. Animals and plants are kept in balance so that everything is used and nothing goes to waste. Just enough manure is produced by the animals for composting and fertilizing. These earth-friendly farming practices, known as agroecology, play a role in the cooling of our planet. At 6,000 feet elevation, on another small highland farm, Manuel Torres works in his greenhouse built with funds from Heifer International. Mr. Torres works to preserve a range of ancient seeds that are in danger of extinction. The seedlings he grows in the greenhouse are traded with other members of his cooperative or sold at market. His work improves his income and ensures that ancient knowledge and seed varieties will not be lost, but saved and passed on to future generations. Heifer supports women by inspiring them to speak out, educating them about their rights, and helping them develop their innate ability. These women transform themselves into confident entrepreneurs and social advocates. The participation of women not only strengthens the community and family, but also equally benefits both men and women. Groups of women come together to learn about and discuss important issues that impact their lives. The women of Muyuyaku village spoke of their gratitude for Heifer funds, which provided culinary training to help them launch their chocolate and fruit preserve business. With help from Heifer, they have a role beyond household duties and family care. They are working together, learning new skills, and serving as strong role models for their children. In Quillan, local entrepreneur Veronica spoke eloquently about the expanded role of women in her community. She spoke with pride of her mother, a co-owner of a restaurant, and an active participant in building the eco-village that Quillan has become. Important changes have taken place there. Illiteracy has been eradicated, and the community is now a tourist destination with job opportunities for young people. Developing social capital is a major strategy for addressing poverty and food insecurity. Heifer reaches out to organizations already in existence to give them a helping hand with the resources they need. This enables them to move forward and build social networks that contribute to increased productivity and cooperation. Heifer is active in teaching small-scale farmers the business skills they need, linking them with profitable markets and helping them have a voice in the political arena. One example of such a social network is the Small Producers Association, PACOT. With a membership of 614 growers, PACOT is large enough to vary its products and have vendors in 3 different markets each week. At this market, 150 PACOT associates came together to establish a large display area for themselves. PACOT growers distinguish themselves in the vibrant crowd with bright blue smocks and beautifully displayed organic products. With training and the essential support needed to become certified organic, growers are able to get a fair price for their products. Their presence in the marketplace, coming face to face with the consumer, is an aspect of building social capital that benefits the well-being of the entire community. We felt the energy of enthusiasm and empowerment in every Heifer International project we visited. We witnessed the essential difference Heifer makes on the ground with our project partners in Ecuador. Men, women, young and old, fishermen and farmers, with a little support from Heifer, are improving life for themselves, their children, and their communities. That is why we give our time, our energy, and money in support of Heifer International. We believe that the most effective way to make a difference in the world is to help others help themselves. We are proud to be part of an organization that strengthens communities, improves lives in a sustainable way, and provides a real long-term solution for ending poverty and hunger in the world.
I was asked to share briefly being the key word here, of a project partner and how our gifts affect a project partner. And I've been sitting here thinking, and I've changed my mind as to who I'm going to tell you about, and I've decided I'm going to tell you briefly about my friend Goyito Lopez, who I actually met in Honduras. I did not meet in Ecuador, but he is a good man, as all Heifer people are, you must know. Goyito Lopez I met when I was taking a group of teachers to Honduras. I went in a bus ahead of time to meet Mr. Lopez as the teachers were coming behind me. And he came out of his beautiful little home to meet me on this incredible hillside. It was so steep and so bright with color and flower and dense foliage. It was just beautiful. He welcomed me to his home. He showed me the map of his property and what he was growing. He had beautiful integrated systems with fruit and coffee in the shade. And again, this hillside that is just covered with beautiful foliage. And he said to me, now I know that we're going to see a lot of people and your group is in a hurry. But today, after we sample my fruit, I need to take you down the road and I need to introduce you to this lady. Now, she's just gotten started with Heifer, so don't expect too very much from her, but it's important that she meet people who've come from so far. So we have some fruit, we have some coffee, we see his beautiful place. He's gone on to pass on his gifts for many years. He has no further obligation to Heifer. He received a cow, some seeds, some training, and for years and years, he has gone on to train other farmers in a farm school and find other ways to pass on the gift. One of the ways he has done this is by working with people like this lady down the road. She happened to be a grandmother who was taking care of 4 grandchildren, and she was given the gift of a cow herself, which she was very proud of. But what we had come to see that day was what she did with the waste from that cow. She had a brand new biogas system. And let me tell you, she was pretty excited about this. This biogas system was basically a great big long plastic tube that sat in a ditch about as long as this stage. And there was a little piece of white PVC pipe that came out one end and into the back of her kitchen. And it went into a little 2-burner stove, like maybe you've used when you go camping. And she went in there, and she flicked it on, and she lit a match, and boom, we had water boiling. And we made tortillas, and she showed us her eco stove, and she showed us all the wonderful things she was able to do with the extras left over from the cow manure. So this is part of what Goyito Lopez is doing, is passing on the gift again and again and again to affect this little lady who was so very excited and so very proud with what she could do with the gifts from Heifer International. The point of my story is that when you share your love and gifts through Heifer International, these are gifts that keep giving and give in very beautiful ways around the world all the time. So thank you for that. So the real purpose of our celebration here today, our celebration of 70 years of Heifer International, is to celebrate you, because Heifer International is indeed a network of people who care, who get out every day to see what they can do to make a difference in the world. So we have honored a number of community groups here in the Sacramento area. We wish to thank and appreciate all of you. And I'm going to invite Linda Eisenman to come up and share a little bit about a few of the groups who are receiving honors this afternoon.
Well, thank you very much. It is truly an honor to stand in front of you and recognize the people who have made a huge difference all around the world. And I know a lot of you come from organizations that have a purpose of making a huge difference, and you have your own missions, and you have partnered with Heifer International to increase the range of your missions. And by doing this kind of thing together, our reach is truly universal. We can truly accomplish this mission of ending poverty throughout the world, of making sure that every child goes to bed at night with food in their belly, that every child has the opportunity to go to school. Some of the organizations that have participated with Heifer International in large and small ways include Kiwanis International, with such a focus on children, such a blessing to children. The California Federation of Women's Clubs. Don't women do most of the work in the world? Thank you. Count not to slight the gentleman, please. Thank you, California Federation of Women's Clubs. Thank you for your caring. Thank you again for partnering with us. Alpha Kappa Alpha celebrated its 100th anniversary just a few years ago. Alpha Kappa Alpha started years ago with the specific purpose of lifting up young women, specifically in the fields of education. And what a blessing that you are sharing your mission with ours. It's truly a privilege to partner with you. The Citrus Heights Preschool, Miss Julia teaching her 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds the beauty of giving and of helping someone else in need. Children who are collecting pennies and dimes from home to bring them in so that some family might have a trio of rabbits or a flock of chickens. The Montessori Project Foundation, the American River Project School, again, children helping families, children helping to end poverty throughout the world, and to make sure that everyone can thrive, survive and thrive. The teen philanthropy class of Madrasa in Sacramento, such a focus on giving, such a focus on serving the world, young people making an enormous difference. The Girl Scouts serving communities here locally and again internationally through these kinds of partnerships. We truly, truly thank you all. If you are here in one of these civic groups, would you please stand so that we can recognize you and thank you. And now I would like to introduce Suzanne Awalt, who has additional information on people who have helped.
So when did you first learn about Heifer? Was it Aunt Rosie's gift of chickens to you for Christmas one year? Did you participate in Vacation Bible School, Fill the Ark program, Animal Crackers? Did you go to Ceres Learning Center and participate in the Heifer Hunger Happening? Someone reminded me that we used to have in Sacramento the Hunger Attack, the annual Hunger Attack. How many remember the Hunger Attack? And then, what I'm driving at here, you'll see, is that for many of us, but not all, as Linda has indicated, for many of us, we learned about Heifer through our church, through our faith community. And without our faith communities, and they're beginning with the Church of the Brethren, and on through all the years of giving, congregational giving has been really at the heart of Heifer. Before World Ark, before the internet, before the gift catalog, the churches had a covenantal relationship with Heifer. They put in their seed money to start what became what we see today. The mainline denominations, 12 or so of them. So you all are the follow-on generations of those faithful church people who are living out the gospel by giving to Heifer. The other thing about the Sacramento region is that at least 40 years that I can figure, I was talking with Jane Henderson, whose parents were my mentors, Ray and Dorothy Miller, that at least 40 years there's been a very active Sacramento area committee or Sacramento area volunteer group. And started with a group of people who did kind of feed in from the churches. But now we have a wonderful group of volunteers, and you are welcome to join us. School teachers and people from the business community and people from state employment and a variety of skills, and you can see they've shared their skills and abilities today with us. We recognize that without our churches, without our faith communities, raising up future generations of Heifer givers, we can't really continue to tell the story in a way that is kind of built into the history and the fabric of a lot of our churches. So that is why we have made a decision to recognize. But in recognizing a few of the churches, we are really recognizing all of our faith communities that have participated for many, many years in bringing hope to families around the world. So I've been a volunteer myself for about 23 years, and it has been a blessing to me to have worked with Dr. Bill Beck and to know many of these saints who have gone on now before us, but who really were the beginning of the Sacramento Committee. And I will start off just by recognizing those churches. Our host today, St. Mark's United Methodist Church, Fremont Presbyterian Church, Carmichael Presbyterian Church, Westminster Presbyterian Church, First United Methodist Church of Modesto, and Centennial United Methodist Church. Those are the ones that I personally know of and who basically mentored me. We also have to recognize Linwood United Methodist Church in Pleasanton, St. John's Lutheran Church in Sacramento, First Congregational Church of Murphy's, Davis Community Church, Mayfair Christian Church Disciples of Christ of Stockton, Sierra Christian Church Disciples of Christ from Loomis, St. George's Episcopal Church in Carmichael, Fair Oaks United Methodist Church in Fair Oaks, and Concord United Methodist Church in Concord. Now maybe it was a bike-a-thon, a book sale, a bake sale, a yard sale, car wash, any number of things. Those little arc banks we had, those little milk carton banks that we had that we took home, any number of ways, creative ways that you took leadership as pastors, as lay leaders, as volunteers among your churches and faith communities. I'd like to ask those of you who are representing our faith communities today to please stand and be recognized.
I'm Jim McGuire of Concord United Methodist in Concord, California. This is our pastor, Sung Ho Lee. This is my wife, Sue McGuire. And I guess what makes us famous is this little shirt here, that we have had what is called a bike-a-thon. It originated 39 years ago. This next year will be our 40th year, and we raise money by pledging, but we also have to ride 100 miles. It's divided up into 2 days when we do 100, or one day we do 65, 50, and 30. And everybody has to raise a minimum of $150, and that we designate the pledges to go either to Heifer or to some of that to our youth program. So in the past 39 years, we've probably raised over 100,000 total. This last year, we raised 8,000, of which Heifer got 5, but the previous 4 years, we raised $8,000, and a Heifer got all of it.
So we are coming to the end of our program here. And I was asked to say a few words, a very few, about 5 minutes worth, really. And I decided I wanted to take that, and I wanted to talk about cultivating gratitude. I know we've all got something to be grateful for, including the fact that I'm only going to take 5 minutes. As I think about cultivating gratitude in my own life, it's an activity that I build into my rituals every day. And as I think about today and what I'm grateful for, I like to think about exactly where it is that we stand. We stand on the history and tradition of cowboys, of community workers, of volunteers, and of good people like Dan West, who had a vision of a world of peace and justice where people could create lives of dignity for themselves. So when I think of cultivating gratitude, I'm grateful for their leadership and their example in my life. When I'm really on my game, every day, I like to start out my day with an act of gratitude. Sometimes that's as simple as just not getting crabby on the freeway, letting somebody merge and taking a breath. Sometimes I can be a bigger person and visit with somebody in the grocery store, take a moment to pick up the phone and call a friend I haven't spoken with, or write a note. but doing something with the gratitude is an important part of my life. And this carries over into my work with Heifer International, because we have this wonderful thing called passing on the gift. As I mentioned, my job with Heifer International is to work with communities. So I have the opportunity to work with schools, community groups, civic groups, faith groups, people who want to get together and create something a little bigger, a little better, and look at the ways that we actually can end hunger and poverty. We can move beyond hunger. That's a really cool thing, and I'm going to argue with my colleagues here in the room that I have the best job at Heifer International. Because in addition to all those folks, I get to work with volunteers like the folks here in Sacramento that really add a lot to my life. So thank you for all you do. As I think about my job with Heifer and passing on the gift, part of the privilege of this is that Heifer is a really evaluative organization. We stop and we often take a look at the way we work and how we can do things better. Yes, we have raised millions of families out of hunger and poverty, 2 million this last year alone, but our work isn't done. And that's the beauty, is we really believe that it's work that we can finish, that this is achievable and we can do it. And therefore, we need to stop and say, what else? What next? How do we do more? Just this last week, I was checking out the Heifer blog. I hope you've had a chance to visit our website in the last 6 months. It's really good. There's a new blog post almost every day. I happened to come across one where Pierre Ferrari, our CEO, was talking about the year of the family farmer and the 600 million family farmers around the world. And that really, our job at Heifer is to go beyond creating a network of subsistence farmers. And that's something I've been thinking about for a couple years and talking about for a couple years. We need to do more than just give someone a little something so they aren't starving. Yes, we need to help them so they aren't starving. But then we need to give them a little bit more. We need to move them beyond subsistence to a place of resilience. So this is a new way that Heifer is working and a new challenge we undertake. We are working in larger program areas for deeper impact. If you've been with Heifer for a long time, you know that we used to have lots of programs spread out all over the world in many, many countries. And if you've been paying attention for the last few years, you might notice that we're working in a few less countries. And in those countries, we're working in more concentrated areas. We're working with larger groups of people for deeper impact. It's my belief that when we begin the passing on, that we get deeper ripples that actually change society in a way that has bigger value to the whole community. This is a new way that Heifer is working. And finally, our USA programs. Perhaps you had a chance to check out some of the materials in the back there, but we are working in the Mississippi Delta and Appalachia regions, developing markets and networks to create food sovereignty for entire communities. So these, again, systems solutions are ways that we are working that are new with Heifer and exciting things that I'm looking forward to in the next few years. So the opportunity for refinement and reflection in my job at Heifer International has been a really neat thing for me as I continue to cultivate gratitude in my life. Is find a way to be active in your community, to volunteer in ending hunger and poverty. If you are fortunate enough to be in the Sacramento area, I'd invite you to visit with Suzanne and John and all the good folks here, because they are out here every week visiting someone, attending a meeting at a civic club, doing a presentation at a church or a school, and sharing the good word about Heifer, besides the fact that they are just a really neat group of people who I would like to be hanging out with, and I imagine you might enjoy them too. So I might ask you to consider volunteering in your community. Volunteers and appreciation. That brings me back to gratitude, because I can't tell you how much I really appreciate these folks right here. As I was thinking about gratitude and how we express that, I thought of a quote from John F. Kennedy. And he said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live them. So I appreciate our volunteers who get out every day and live their gratitude. I encourage you to consider doing the same. And I appreciate your support of Heifer International for 70 years, creating powerful, impactful change in ending hunger and poverty around the world. Thank you.